Whether you're a real estate investor, a real estate agent, a real estate professional, or just someone seeking a way to become very rich in a very short time, you have come across the idea that you can purchase property with no money down. This term has been referred to as wholesaling, and there are many other ways of purchasing property with very little money out of pocket. But wholesaling is the one that has captured the public eye to the greatest degree in the recent months. And why is it so popular, you ask? Why is it being propagated by YouTube channels everywhere, social media platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, OnlyFans? Wait, that's not OnlyFans? Instagram and TikTok. It's because it's so appealing to the younger population. In this video, I'm going to be answering a question. Is wholesaling the biggest scam of the 2000s? What's going on, guys? It's your boy JD, Justin Dunning, back with another video. And if you are new to the channel, welcome. On this channel, we are documenting my journey to building financial freedom through investing in real estate and building up a real estate company that's going to be able to generate me income for the years moving forward. This video right here is video 1 in an educational series that I'm going to be doing going forward, going over a couple strategies that we personally use and strategies that we plan to use in the near future but have not yet done deals with. If you haven't already, go and check out the first video that we actually released on this channel. I will make sure to put a link in my description to that video where we discuss some of the different things that we're going to be discussing on this channel moving forward. And the most important thing, the focus of this channel, which is currently to make $1 million. Now, I know that is a very big, hairy, audacious goal. And so if you guys want to stick around to watch and or support in any type of way, be sure to hit the subscription button and the notification bell so that you're notified every single time that we release a video. I just want you to be a part of the family, so make sure you
push the goddamn button. You heard what she said.
At a very young age, we are taught to question everything. We're taught to question the information we receive, question the source of that information. We're even taught to question the source of the source. Now, as many people develop, they become more trustworthy of certain sources and more distrustworthy of other sources. I myself have leaned towards the latter. I don't believe anything. And so amongst many other things, you guys are currently looking at the face of a massive, massive skeptic. And so when I was sitting in the living room of a former teammate back in 2019, and he was telling me about the opportunity to buy real estate with no money down, I looked at him and said, "Have you lost your damn mind?" And it wasn't just any individual. This was a well-respected guy in the Bryan College Station area. I was sitting in his living room having a conversation about my future plans to buy real estate. I said, "Man, look, Alex, you know, you're doing your thing right now, and I completely understand that. I respect you for it. But my primary goal is making enough money so that I can do the same thing. I want to make and save up $25, $50, $100,000, and then I'm finally start doing some investing." And he looks over at me and says,
"Well, technically speaking, you don't even need a ton of money to invest in real estate. You can actually invest in real estate with very little money out of your own pocket. In fact, I actually have a cousin who does this exact same thing."
I said, "Alex, stop the cap. There's no way. There's no possible way."
He said, no, it's actually a fact. In fact, let me send you the link to his video. His name is Brian Eric Boo, and you can go take a look at him on a brother named Max Maxwell's channel."
Brian. You kidding me? Buying houses with no money down. Max Maxwell. Who the hell names their kid Max with the last name Max? It didn't make any sense. I thought, who in their right mind would sell someone a property with no money out of their own pocket? And so I went over to this brother named Max Maxwell's channel, and after that discovery, my eyes were opened. In this video, guys, I'm going to be discussing a couple of different things. Number one, I'm going to give you my personal definition of what wholesaling actually is, describe it to you step by step, and then go over some of the different ethical dilemmas that wholesalers face today. And at the very end, give you guys a judgment. Is this something that you should run towards or run very, very far away from? Make sure you stick around to the end, because my opinion is going to be a lot different than some other people that you've seen. Despite its popularity and how much the topic has been discussed, there are still some people that are confused about what wholesaling actually is. Wholesaling real estate is a very simple form of assigning your interest in a contract without actually purchasing it yourself.
Well, Justin, how does this even possibly work?
Well, let me just break it down for you. Let me first explain how a traditional real estate transaction works. And in this example, we're going to be discussing the seller as just a typical seller and the buyer as someone who's looking to invest in real estate. So let's just call them a house flipper, for example. So in this example, a house flipper is going to approach a real estate agent in order to find a property on what's known as the multiple listing service, or the MLS. As an investor, one thing you want to make absolutely sure of is that you know your numbers. And so there's a formula that investors use in order to actually figure out what they need to buy a property for.
Carry the 3, add a 2. I got it. I got it!
This is the criteria that you give to your agent if you're dealing with a real estate agent in that example. Let's just say for this example that the house is worth $100,000, but let's just say the market is not as hot as it is right now, and so you're able to get it for $90,000. Now in today's market, you ain't getting that thing for anything less than $120, but that's a different story for a different day. You submit an offer with the agent submits an offer to the seller likes the offer or they dismiss it. In this example, let's just say they accept the offer. After accepting this offer, you guys are gonna go to close on the property. You go to closing, and the buyer's either gonna get a loan on the property or bring cash to the table in order to actually fund the property. Buyer has a new property, the seller has cash in hand, the agent gets a small commission for making it happen. Now, you can take that exact same scenario, take that exact same flipper, and remove the agent from the equation, and now you have an off-market property. So let's just say this buyer goes direct to the seller, the $100,000 property. They know that they need to buy it for $70,000 in order to put $5,000 worth of repairs into it and make a little bit of profit on it, whatever it is. They would go to the seller, negotiate that price, and close on the property the exact same way. This time, no agent involved, so there's no commissions or anything else of the sort. That would be a traditional transaction involving a buyer that is direct to seller. Now I'm going to explain to you a wholesale transaction. Now, in a wholesale transaction, you're going to be dealing with both an investor or a flipper, and you're also going to be dealing with a seller. So let's just take this exact same example. Let's remove the agent from the equation, and so the property is off market. And let's just say that the purchase price is going to be $70,000 for the flipper. Now, here's the caveat. As a wholesaler, you need to understand purchase prices. You need to understand what investors are willing to pay for property, because your objective is to get the property underneath what someone else is willing to pay for it. You have to know that a buyer is willing to pay $70,000 for this property. Now, there are a variety of different ways that you can figure out these numbers.
We got 13 colonies, so 13 minus 50. 13 minus 50, goddamn, 47.
I'll be creating a video series later on about how to actually figure out what your purchase price needs to be, how to analyze a property, and figure out what someone else would buy the property from you for. But let's just say in this example, you run your numbers and you figured out that the buyer needs to buy this property at $70,000. As the wholesaler, the only thing that you would do now is go to the seller, negotiate with them, and somehow get this property underneath $70,000. If you get the property at $60,000, for example, and put it under contract, you then have the ability to make the difference in the spread. You contracted at $60,000, you take it to a cash buyer that's willing to pay $70,000 for it. You guys both go to the closing table, they fund the deal for $70,000, and you get paid a $10,000 assignment fee, with the seller taking the other $60,000 home. This is a nice, smooth, perfect transaction. Everyone walks away happy. The seller gets $60,000, the wholesaler gets $10,000, and the buyer gets a brand new property. Well, not brand new, because they probably have a lot of damage done to it, termites, fires, and floods, and all that other kind of crap going on. The buyer gets a property that is new to them, and they have the ability to now put some money into it, drastically appreciate by putting work into it, and eventually reselling it. Well, wait.
What I just described doesn't sound unscrupulous at all. In fact, it actually sounds like a very good way to make some money online.
So what are you saying, Justin? Is wholesaling not a scam?
Well, that's not what I'm saying entirely, but what I'm saying is that the concept in itself doesn't sound that bad. So you have this strategy in itself that is not inherently bad, but you have to ask yourself the question, why are there so many shady people? Why do people seem like they're fucking scumbags?
I can answer that. For money?
And the answer to that is very simple. Wholesaling is probably the easiest form of real estate to get into, with very little barrier to entry. Many people can pose themselves as a buyer and buy the property. And that phrase I just uttered right there, pose themselves as the buyer, is the root of all problems in wholesaling. And this is going to be a theme that you guys hear me discuss on this channel moving forward, the need for transparency. So now that you guys have a nice overview of what wholesaling actually is and an example of how it would work, let me give you guys a step-by-step breakdown that you can follow in order to actually complete a wholesale deal the right way. I'm going to save the most important step for the very end, even though it probably should be the very first step you should take prior to wholesaling. So make sure you guys stick around to the end of this video to hear me discuss that. So step number one to completing a wholesale transaction is finding a distressed property. One of the primary questions that I receive is,
Well, why in the world would someone sell you a property at a discount if it's actually worth more than what you're buying it for? Are you manipulating them? Are you cheating them? Are you scamming them into selling you for such a cheap price?
no, but it's a valid question. In fact, I had the exact same question when I first started out. So as a real estate investor, guys, we're targeting two different things. Number one, distress of the seller. Number two, distress of the property. Now, before you guys start attacking me down in the comments below, make sure you stick around to hear step number two so I can explain to you why this is not unethical by any means. So the number one thing you guys want to do is actually find a distressed property and or distressed seller. And what exactly is this? Well, you're looking for distressed sellers. These are people who are in a distressed situation. Maybe they recently had a divorce. Maybe they recently filed a bankruptcy. Maybe they are the relative of someone who was recently deceased. You're looking for a distressed property. Maybe this property is physically dilapidated. Maybe the windows are broken in. Maybe the roof is falling in. Maybe the door is ripped off the hinges like the big bad wolf and the three little pigs.
Here's Johnny.
You're trying to find if something is wrong. That doesn't sound good. That sounds like some bottom feeding scumbaggery. I mean,
You out here targeting people who have issues? You're literally the scum of the sea.
well, let me explain number two, reaching out to the seller to gauge interest. Now, number two is probably going to be the most important part of this process. I take that back. It's going to be one of the most important parts of the process because it's going to determine whether or not you're doing something that is extremely sus or if you're just being a good person. Your intention matters. When you're reaching out to the owner of a distressed property or a person that is in a distressed situation that owns a property, you are simply questioning and gauging their interest to sell their property and or achieve some sort of solution to their problem. I've seen so many people get this step wrong. You don't want to be out here looking all thirsty.
I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. I 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 need it.
We're not trying to create motivation here, guys. We're looking for motivation to sell. And so if you find someone that's willing to sell for a discount or needs some sort of assistance, maybe they have some sort of situation going on with their taxes that they need sorted out, maybe their property's about to get foreclosed on, maybe they have a situation with the probate process that they need assistance with. As a wholesaler, your job is to solve someone's problem, offer them a solution to their problem, and as a result of solving their problem, they are willing to sell you their house at a discount. If you find that they're not interested, leave them alone. There are a couple different ways that you can get in touch with the homeowners of these distressed properties. You can give them a cold call, look them up online, skip trace their address and find out who's actually the owner of the property, give them a phone call up and see if they're willing to sell the property. You can send them a mailer direct to their house and see if they have any interest in selling then. Obviously, it's going to be a more long-term play because they have the opportunity to call you back. But if you want to go on the more aggressive approach, lean towards cold calling. Hell, you can even take it super aggressive and walk up to their front door, knock on it real quick and see if they're willing to sell. Be careful, you might want to duck down because they might pop you if you walk up to the wrong door. Nevertheless, guys, you have a number of different ways that you can reach out to these sellers. After you found a distressed property, reached out to the seller to gauge whether or not they are interested in selling the property, and you have their answer, which is yes, you move on to the next step. Now you have to evaluate the deal. Remember what I said earlier in this video. One of the most important things that someone who is wholesaling has to know is what another investor is willing to pay for this exact same property. You do this by pulling comparable properties. You want to look around the area and find out what properties that are in similar condition within this neighborhood have sold for. After you've evaluated the deal and you have a good idea of what this property will be bought for by an investor, let's just say it's $70,000, you then go back to the seller and you make them an offer. After making the offer, you want to negotiate with them, ideally getting it somewhere underneath that $70,000. Now, here's another step that people get very wrong in the process. When you are making an offer on this property, one of the most important things for you to do is provide full transparency. You don't have to walk up to them and say, hey, I'm not going to buy this property. I'm actually a wholesaler. I'm actually going to make thousands of dollars on this property by you selling it to me at a discount. You don't have to say that to them. But what you do need to provide is full transparency. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I have the ability to assist you with this problem. And just so you understand, this is how my business works. Either I'm going to personally purchase this property or another investor that I work with is going to purchase it. What I can guarantee you is that you're going to get the exact amount of money that we agreed for on this property. Something as simple as that. You see all these different channels on YouTube that talk about, just tell them you're the buyer for the property. What we do with the property is none of their business. You hear this all the time. I always err towards the side of caution and being transparent because even outside of reputation, right? Integrity. It's by doing what's right despite who's watching, just doing what's right and communicating with them just so they know what's going on. After you make an offer and negotiate with the seller, you then get the property under contract. You can either go to your attorney and have them draft up a contract. Most people are going to have a state regulated real estate contract that most of you guys can go online and pull up and download to your personal files. That way you can fill it out. After you get the deal under contract, you're going to send this deal out to different cash buyers. Now, these are relationships that you can make prior to you even looking for a deal in the first place, or these are people that you can find as a result of pushing the deal out there and marketing for a buyer. You can do this through Facebook Marketplace. You can do this through calling on different people who have bought properties in the area for cash. You can do it in a number of different ways. Just for the sake of this video, let's just say that you're going to find a cash buyer by calling on different people who have recently bought properties in that area for cash. You find an LLC owner, you skip trace that LLC, or you find the owner of the LLC and skip trace that owner. You call them up, they're willing to pay $70,000 for this house. After they agree to pay the $70,000 for this house, you move on to contract the deal and also secure an earnest money deposit. So one nuance to contracting a deal with a buyer that I was not well aware of when I first got into this business is that you need to secure a relatively substantial earnest money deposit from this buyer if you're going to wholesale them the deal. By the way, guys, I should probably spell this out. Transparency in this phase is also pretty huge. Hey, I do not own this property. I have this property under contract. I can assign you my interest in the contract. You can take it over and pay me an assignment fee as a result. That is the level of transparency that you need to provide with the buyer. Also, obviously, as it relates to disclosure, you want to disclose any problems that you know about the property, and that can be said for the exact same thing with the seller, but I won't dive into that in this video. This contract that you fill out with the buyer is known as an assignment contract. Once you fill this out with the buyer and you secure from them an earnest money deposit, you're going to take both contracts and the EMD over to a title company. Most of these buyers that you deal with are going to want to deposit that EMD directly to the title company, but it doesn't matter. They can either deposit it to you or they can deposit directly to the title company. After this, you move on to the next step, which is going to be to communicate with the title company exactly what you plan to do. Now, if you're going to be wholesaling, guys, one thing you want to make sure of is that you're dealing with a investor-friendly title company. I hear people talk about this all the time, but I don't think it's talked about enough. There are title companies out here who will destroy your deal. I mean, they will tear it to shreds. They will destroy it. They will do everything in their power to break it apart. Now, Some of this is due to ignorance, some of it is due to arrogance.
I don't know if you're gonna think ill of me, but I enjoy destroying lives. It turns me on.
You want to make sure you're dealing with a title company that is very familiar with dealing with wholesalers and other investors like yourself. So after you take it over to the title company, communicate with them exactly what you plan to do, whether you plan to double close on it, which I'll discuss in a different video, or you plan to assign the interest in this contract over to the investor. Make sure that they are well aware of what's going on and that they are aware of the respective parties who are involved. After this has been communicated to the title company, the only thing left for you to do now is get the deal closed. After that, you're just managing the deal up until closing, managing the emotions of the seller, managing the emotions of the buyer, and making sure that everyone's on board leading up to the actual close. At close, the buyer is going to fund the deal for that full $70,000. You are going to receive $10,000 in version of an assignment fee, and then the other $60,000 is going to go to the seller. The seller's happy, you're happy as the wholesaler, and the buyer's also happy as well. This is an example of how a wholesale deal can work, short and sweet. All right, so the next part of this video, guys, I want to discuss a couple of different things that you can immediately implement and things that I want you to be very cognizant of doing and representing whenever you are wholesaling a property. I have 4 rules, and these 4 rules I feel are going to be the foundation of every successful, honest wholesaler. It's going to prevent you from looking like an unscrupulous, incredulous, deplorable, shisty, sleazy snake oil salesman. The very first rule is this, and this should actually be step 0 in the 1 to 9 breakdown that I did earlier. Number 1 is make sure that you have alignment with money. That's very important. Notice I said alignment. You do not have to personally have the money yourself, but make sure that you have an alignment with money. Make sure you have the ability to close on a property. So whenever you're going to these sellers and you're having conversations, and this is going to be directly correlated with number 2, you want to make sure that you are fully transparent with the seller. And the easiest way to be fully transparent with the seller is to actually have an alignment with money. This is the best way for you to go ahead and do it, and this is the way that I did it. For example, before you actually start looking for deals, you want to align yourself with different hard money lenders in your area. You can meet them at a networking event, you can just look them up online, you can search them up inside of Facebook groups. Align yourself with a couple different hard money lenders. I would say have at least 5 that are on your side prior to you even looking for your first deal. This is free for you to do. This is not expensive. It does not take much effort at all. So just call around, align yourself with a couple hard money lenders, and the conversation is very simple. Hey, I'm a new real estate investor. I just got into the industry. I plan on doing some wholesaling, maybe potentially some flipping, and also buy and hold in the future. I want to know that if I find a deal that meets a specific set of criteria, would you be willing to fund my transaction? Their answer is going to be yes, obviously, because these people make money by lending money. Cool. And just out of curiosity, what type of deal would I have to bring to the table in order for you guys to be able to fund 100% of the transaction? They're going to give you their list of criteria. You take it into consideration and rinse and repeat this process with multiple hard money lenders. What this is going to do, guys, is you're building up miniature alliances and support. You're gonna hear me talk about this a ton, guys. Networking is the most key component to having success in this business. Scratch that. In business, and scratch that. In life. And so once you've built up a couple valuable relationships that are going to give you the ability to actually close on property, if they fit that specific criteria, go do the exact same thing with people who are actively flipping deals inside of your marketplace. A great thing you guys can do is actually head over to biggerpockets.com. I'm not getting sponsored to say this, but BiggerPockets is an amazing platform for anyone who's looking to jump into real estate. Head over to biggerpockets.com. You can actually search inside of their forum and look for people who are in your specific market. So if you're in Houston, for example, you can look it up and find people like myself in the area. If you're in the Dallas market, if you're in, Oklahoma, if you're in the middle of Hawaii and you're wholesaling, right? You can find people that are specifically in that market that are actively buying and looking to buy properties. You can actually go to join a Facebook group, and I encourage every single person to do this. Look up Houston Wholesaling Group or Houston Real Estate Investors or Louisiana Real Estate Investors or Montana Real Estate Investors. Find people who are investing in real estate in your specific area, and you can connect with them. Now, if they give you the ability to hop on the phone with them, a lot of them won't, but if they do give you the ability to hop on the phone with them, you call them up and have the exact same conversation. This conversation is only slightly different. What's going on, man? Quick question. I'm a new real estate investor in the area. I come across a ton of different properties. If I find a property and I get it under contract for a good price, would you be able to partner with me on the deal so that we can flip the house together? Now, I'll tell you this. If they are a seasoned investor, they're going to say yes. If I don't have to do anything to find a deal and a wholesaler is bringing me a deal and I can close on this deal and bring all of the money to the table and we split the profits 50-50, I've just saved myself marketing costs. I've saved myself time in order to actually find the deal, and I can do many more deals. So it works in benefit for yourself as a wholesaler and also for the person who is trying to flip. Have those conversations, rinse and repeat, meet 5 different flippers who are willing and accepting of doing the exact same thing, and you now have an established backbone and an ability to close on these properties. And so now you don't have to worry about going to the seller and lying to them. I mean, this is the biggest problem I've seen in wholesaling, and I apologize if I'm speaking on this for too long, problem. It is the biggest problem that I have seen in this industry. People not having the ability to close on properties and not knowing how they could even develop the ability to close on property outside of having a ton of money themselves. That is just not the case, guys. If you have a good deal, if you truly develop the sales and marketing skills necessary in order to find good off-market properties, you're going to have people that are willing to fund these deals for you, whether they are private lenders and people who follow you and they just want to support you along the way, whether they are people who are flippers and actively in the business of making money by investing in real estate, or whether they're a hard money lender. There's a lending company that wants to literally lend their money out on assets in order to make more money. I'm telling you, if you have a good deal, people will come. The simple fix is not to work on your wording and not to work on how you phrase this to the seller. The simple fix is to actually develop the ability to close. And so whenever you walk in front of the seller, you tell them, hey, either I'm going to buy this property from you or another one of my investors is going to buy it. Even if you only bought 10% of them, even if you only bought 1% of these properties, you're not lying to them. You're being honest, because either you're going to buy this property and you have the ability to now buy it because you now have this established backbone, or you're going to assign it to another one of your investors. That's complete, honest, and completely transparent. That is number one, and number two, somewhat morphed into one another. Make sure you have alignment with money. Just align yourself with the money. And then number two, be transparent with the seller and let them know exactly what is going on. And those go hand in hand, because if you have the alignment with the money, being transparent with the seller is much, much easier. Number three, I already hit on this when I was giving you guys my 1 to 10 breakdown. Be transparent with the buyer. If you don't own the property, you don't own the property. Maybe you're daisy chaining or you're JVing with another wholesaler on the property, right? Maybe a wholesaler brings you a deal. You're trying to assign it over to a different buyer. You need to be transparent and just let them know what's going on. I'm telling you guys, transparency is the easiest form of stress relief. You do not want to be in a situation where you have so many lies that you're trying to juggle that you get caught up and you end up fumbling the entire bag. Let them know exactly what's going on with the transaction. Let them know everything that's wrong with the property if you know what's wrong with the property. Obviously, they're going to have to perform their own due diligence, but guys, just make sure you're fully transparent with them. And then number four, which is probably the most important thing of all time, not only in this business, but in life in general, follow through on the promises that you make. If you can follow this one simple step, if you can follow through on the promises that you make, you're going to have more success than you have ever imagined, because people are going to want to do business with you over and over and over again.
Shut up and take my money.
There's something to be said about the individual that says they're going to do something and they follow through on that. They're magnetic. I don't mean physically attractive. I mean people who have magnetic, not only personalities, but magnetic ways of being. These are the people that you want to be around, and these are the people that you want to do business with long term. And so if you want to be a person that other people are attracted to, follow through on the promises that you make. Now, I probably missed a couple things that I wanted to talk about in this video, but I'm not gonna lie to you, your boy is getting winded. And so I might have to create a part 2 to this video to discuss a couple things that I missed. But you guys do this favor for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments about each of these steps that I went through. Did I miss anything? Is there anything that you guys would like to hear me discuss about this topic in the near future? Are there any other topics that you guys want to hear me discuss? Drop a comment down below and I'm going to respond to every single comment on every single video. Like I said, guys, this video right here is part 1 in an educational series that I'm going to be doing moving forward. They're going to give you guys the breakdown of some of the different strategies that we utilize in our business. Thank you guys for tuning in so much. We'll be back next week with more content. Please, please, please cut the music. Here's some music. Okay. If you're listening to this video right now, please do me a favor and destroy the like button. Please. Shout out to Graham Stephan. It takes like 2 seconds of your time. Just go down, scroll down, and hit the like button for me. We're going to be doing a very special giveaway once we reach 1,000 subscribers on this channel. But for that to happen, I need you guys to hit the like button, okay? And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, because we're going to be posting much more content like this in the very near future. Until next time, guys, I love you so much. Peace. Except to the people who haven't hit the like button yet. If you haven't hit that, hit it right now. But the rest of you guys, peace.